Hello, all you beautiful people in Webtown. I am your humble Portland wrestling historian, Matt Legit, here to bring you a rare treat recently recovered from my extensive wrestling archives. Deep within the vault, I discovered this mini DV tape from the days before high definition, when we had to record everything on videotape. For some reason, this little gem right here was never transcoded and released for all of you beautiful people to see when it was first recorded way back in 2012. Now, what this tape contains is a rare piece of wrestling history indeed for those of us who grew up on Portland wrestling in its final decade of existence before promoter Don Owen closed up shop in 1992. Filmed a few months prior to his retirement match in Portland, when he returned to the indie wrestling scene for a year to give something back to the next generation, this brief shoot interview features Portland wrestling icon Mean Mike Miller talking for the first and only time on camera about his life in professional wrestling. Mean Mike Miller was a staple of Portland wrestling throughout the 1980s, first rising to prominence alongside Tom Jones, who wrestled for Don Owen's promotion under a mask as Mr. Ebony. The duo would capture 2 NWA Pacific Northwest Tag Team titles together in 1984, before Mr. Ebony would leave the area and Miller would turn heel. Making his way into the singles rankings, Miller would defeat Hangman Bobby Jaggers on May 4th, 1985 to win his first singles title in professional wrestling, the NWA Pacific Northwest Heavyweight title, which he successfully defended for near 3 months before being forced to vacate the belt. Returning to tag team action, Miller would unite with the vile German menace Karl Steiner, better known to fans in the rest of North America as Bob Della Sera. The combination would collect the PNW tag titles once before Steiner was replaced by Northwest mainstay Moondog Ed Moretti for Miller's 4th run with the tag titles. Come 1986, the Mean Man was immortalizing himself to Northwest wrestling fans as one of the most memorable members of Rip Oliver's legendary stable, the Clan, still remembered for their free carry-out service, that being a ride on a stretcher for any wrestler who got in their way. Mean Mike would team with the oily Arab sheik known as Abudaddin, who in reality was Rocky Iokea, the son of iconic Polynesian wrestler King Curtis Iokea. The pair would collect Portland Wrestling Tag Team Gold together on 2 occasions, becoming the most dominant team of 1986. In early 87, Miller would team with the Clan's leader, Rip the Crippler Oliver, to defeat Ricky Santana and Coco Samoa to begin his 7th reign as a Pacific Northwest Tag Team Champion. Though they would have undoubtedly been one of the most dominant teams in Portland wrestling had they stayed together, the cracks were forming in Rip Oliver's Clan, and the egos of the Mean Man and the Crippler simply couldn't coexist as tag partners. With their alliance exploding, Oliver would take Moondog Moretti as his partner, while Miller brought in the masked Black Ninja in a battle to determine who would walk away with the tag gold. The babyface Miller would be victorious over the dastardly Crippler, with the Black Ninja unmasking to reveal himself as Coco Samoa. This 2-month reign as NWA Pacific Northwest Tag Team Champion would be Miller's 8th and final run with the straps. Following their tag team war, Mean Mike Miller and Rip the Crippler Oliver would feud over the NWA Pacific Northwest Heavyweight title, which Oliver had dominated throughout the 1980s. Winning Portland Wrestling's top singles title for a second time on June 27th, the Mean Man would dominate the summer of 1987. With the belt held up following an August 15th match with Oliver, Miller would solidify his legacy in the annals of Pacific Northwest wrestling history on August 22nd, 1987, by forcing the Crippler to forfeit their rematch, thus returning the heavyweight title to his own waist for a 3rd and final time. Miller would hold the belt until Halloween night, when he lost it to a masked man who had just recently debuted in Don Owen's promotion and who would go on to dominate the final years of Portland wrestling, making himself a legend alongside Rip Oliver and Mike Miller, that being the grappler, Len Denton. In 1988, the Mean Man would make a few brief appearances for Billy Jack Haynes' ill-fated Oregon Wrestling Federation, which Haynes ran in direct opposition to Don Owen's Portland Wrestling after returning from his stint in the World Wrestling Federation. Despite the big money the WWF had provided him, and an appearance by Hulk Hogan himself at the opening of Billy Jack's gym, a lack of business sense and a mountain of personal issues caused the OWF to fold as quickly as it had opened. Seeing the writing on the wall for territorial wrestling as Vince McMahon's Western expansion finally reached the television screens of the Pacific Northwest, Mean Mike Miller would cease wrestling regularly. though he would still be an easily recognized fixture at local watering holes where he kept unruly customers in line as a bouncer. Making a few appearances here and there for longtime Portland wrestling referee Sandy Barr's promotion in the early and mid-90s, the Mean Man would slowly fade away from the local wrestling scene, though his legacy as an icon of Portland wrestling would live on forever in the hearts and minds of Pacific Northwest wrestling fans of a certain era, as well as right here on this channel. While we could have easily talked with him for another 6 hours, myself and local wrestler Kelly Schaefer had only 45 minutes to chat with the Mean Man while the ring crew broke down following a local show. In addition to thanking Kelly for his help in the interview, I want to thank Tommy Celsius and Tex Thompson, as well as Tex's wife Shannon, for providing us the opportunity to sit down with the legend, still beloved by so many Portland wrestling fans. And to all you fans watching, I apologize that this video is only a sliver of the knowledge and stories we could have gained if we'd been afforded much more time. Now, without further ado, I proudly present the long-lost Mean Mike Miller shoot interview. Enjoy.
Where'd you grow up at? How'd you get started in this whole industry of professional wrestling?
Tennessee.
You're a Tennessean?
Tennessee, yeah. I was in Tennessee, and I was born and raised there. And a friend of mine was learning how to wrestle at Herb Welch's training school in Dyersburg, and he would go up every Sunday night and Wednesday night. And of course, back then I went up pro wrestling. God, give me a break. He said, "Oh man, you ought to come up and try it." So I went up. I didn't have anything else to do. I was young. I went up there. My first bump, I was hooked. I said, "I love this shit. Look at this. Wow, boom, bam." And we didn't know what we were doing. We were running in each other. I tell you who was training with us, Coco Beware. Just started. Coco Beware slams me. He goes, "I want to drop a leg on you. Can I drop a leg on you, brother?" And I said, "Well, sure." I didn't know. So he slams me. I'm laying there. He jumps straight up in the air. He comes down, and all I see was his big butt. And I went, "Oh!" I turned my head, and it hit right here. Just messed up my neck and all. But I kept on going. Wayne Ferris, Honky Tonk Man. He trained there. David Schultz, Dr. D. He trained there.
Was that Herb Welch's did that training?
Herb Welch's, yeah. Herb Welch. 65-year-old man, or 75-year-old man, come out. And, he would come out to go to train us, but he would start telling us stories, like I'm doing to y'all now. I just start talking, and stories just start clicking and start falling out, and he's out there with us, telling us this. Well, I tell you what, kids, I remember when I was over in Japan and this, blah, blah, and he starts telling the stories. And I said, "No, we want to learn. Can you show us how to small package, or can you show us how to, and he would, and then he would leave. So we would practice on a small package, or practice on one tackle, drop down, scoop, slam, going behind to go, roll up, just simple stuff. And we did this for 3 months, 4 months, $300. Can you imagine that? $300. That was it. He trained me, and I went to wrestle in Malden, Missouri for $15 a night.
How old were you when you had your first match?
26 years old. 26.
So you didn't.
And we was up there, and Lou Thez was on the card. Lou Thez, do y'all remember Lou Thez? That son of a bitch was old, and he knocked the crap out of me. He would just get in there and just, tie you up in a knot and all kinds of stuff, But I was young, I didn't know,
So who was your promoter in Missouri? Is that when Harley was promoting there, or was that before you?
No, it was a guy, and I'm telling you, not if any of the guys that happened to be watching this and ever wrestled in Malden, Missouri, would know Henry Roger was the promoter, and he was the guy that ran the hot dog stand and the corner drugstore, and he owned a bunch of stores, and he did this wrestling thing. So that's how it started. We would drive up there once a week to Malden, Missouri. That's where all the Mexicans and all the immigrant workers were working. They would all show up to the show, And we packed this little bitty house, and our championships belts, they kept underneath the couch. They had to get them out, dust them all off, and it was just, I loved it.
How long did
It
you
was
work
terrible,
there for?
but I loved it. I didn't work there. I worked there maybe 4 or 5 months, and then I went through divorce, and I went and I told my promoter at that time was, you're getting into some, this will be a long time. It was Herb Welch's grandson or some of his family. And if you'll give me a second, I'll think about it. I can't remember now. But anyway, he booked me in Florida, and he said I can put you in Florida. I can book you in Florida with Eddie Graham, or I can put you in Nashville with Nick Goulas. And I've heard about Nick. I knew it would be kind of bad if I went up there. So I said I'll take Florida. So I drove all the way to Florida.
How long did you work for Eddie Graham?
3 months.
Oh.
They come in, guy sat down beside me, he goes, I hate to tell you this, Mike, but you finish up in 3 weeks. So I had a friend there, handsome Jimmy Valiant. He called Louisiana for me. Let's see, Junkyard Dog was there at the time, the Freebirds were there, they were wrestling all over Louisiana, Mississippi, and all that, so I went on in, Cowboy Bill Watts was doing the promotion, and Cowboy was, we had good TV, we had, that's when Sergeant Slaughter started, had the limousine that they went out and camouflage painted it, and Rick Nelson Kid and another guy would go pick Sergeant Slaughter up, It was just the beginning of all that, Sergeant Slaughter thing. Roddy Piper came into Charlotte at that time. It was Jim Crockett was doing the promoting. Jim Crockett and David Crockett. And I was there maybe 4 months, 5 months. And I left there, went back to Louisiana for about a year, and then to Tennessee for a while because Nick Goulas closed. And Jerry Jarrett, he picked up on it. So I went there, and then I went back to Louisiana again, and that's when Jake Snake Roberts was booking in Japan. So he got me booked in Japan. So that's when I started making tours to Japan, to the international office at first, and then I was going over for Giant Baba, and then I went over for Antonio Inoki. So, I mean, it was just, everything kind of fell in place, just kept on falling in place.
How often did you get to work in Japan?
I was going over about twice a year.
Really?
Yeah, I've been there 7 times.
And how long of a stint does a guy typically do when they go over there?
4 weeks.
4 weeks.
4 weeks. I went over one time for 5 weeks. I don't know what the special was, but it was 5 weeks, and it was,
Is that 6 days a week, 7 days a week?
at about $2,300 a week. You worked with the Orientals,
How did that work?
As Stan Hansen told us, we were flying over with him, and we said, Stan, and I was nervous wreck. I'd never been out of the country.
I'm nervous already, just thinking about having to do that.
Yeah, and I'm going over to a foreign country that they don't know English, so you've got to work with these guys, and these guys are tough. They don't do like us. They're in there doing. They're doing squats. They're doing. You hear them every day before the match. They'll set up the ring. They set up the ring like at 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, and you hear the young guys go out there and training with the older guys, and you hear these young guys and the older guys are yelling at them and telling them to get down and do stretch and stretch and stretch, and if they make a mistake, they got to go out and do like so many squats and so many push-ups and stuff like that. So they train all the time. So if you're in there with the ring with some of them, But I was going to tell you, Stan Hansen always told us, said, look, when you get them going, stay on them. Stay on them. So had a TV taping just as soon as our plane landed. They took us all the way to downtown Tokyo to the TV station. We had to do a tape. They put me out there. This one Japanese boys. They said, "Oh, maybe we try to help a little bit, you know. So you go out, and you wrestle him." So I'm thinking what Stan told me. I said, "Well, I'll give him a little bit." So I'm out there beating the hell out of him. Give him just a little bit. He climbs all over me. He starts kicking me. Boom, small packaging me, slamming me. Finally, I stopped. I said, "Screw this!" Boom, I nail him. By the time the match was over, he had knots on his heads. I had beat him silly. So I come in, and he's over in the corner, and the promoter's just giving him hell. Bah, 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 bah. You no good, you bah, 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 bah. He kind of turns, he look here, very good match, Mike Miller. You're very good. You know, I said, I thought I killed the guy. It was good, you know, so I went back in. But if you go out with the guys, you normally got to take care of yourself. I mean, you know, they know the basics. They know what's right and what's wrong, you know. But you just got to stay on them because it goes. I mean, it's not like this. It's spot after spot after spot after spot after spot. So you got to keep up with them, you know. It was fun. It was fun. You made money. It was fun. So, you know, but it's a different.
So what was working with Bill Watts like? Because I've heard rumors that Bill Watts was a pretty tough son of a bitch.
He is, but he's a perfectionist. He wants you to do it, you know. If he tells you you're going to go out and you're going to, you know, do this and do that, yeah, you better do it, you know, or you're not going to be around long, you know.
So how long were you there in Louisiana?
I was there a year, then I left, and I come back and stayed another year. So, you know.
Where'd you move from there?
From Florida to Louisiana, then to Tennessee, and then to Charlotte.
Was that with Goulos or was that with Jarrett when you were in Tennessee?
No, it was with Jarrett. Yeah. I never wrestled for Goulos. Yeah, I don't think I would. It was, you know, he was. They say there's three legends in this business. There's Nick Goulos, there's Don Owens, and there's Stu Hart. And I met all three of them, you know. And they were all what the guys say. You know. And Stu was one of the most, he was a lot of personality, a lot of, you know. I got a lot of stories on Stu. So, I mean, even with me around, then I got a lot of stories for what other guys told me too. So anyway.
So you were getting booked by Lawler when you were working for Jarrett?
And no, in Memphis at that time, the Welches, because Herb Welch was the one that trained me. So he was the uncle of, oh God, I can't remember. I just forgot his name right off the bat. Anyway, they wrestled. They were part of the Welch family in the mid-south area there, you know. So right there I was. But normally you book yourself. Back then I would call the office like I called Charlotte. If you guys ever have a chance, read Ole Anderson's book. It's funny as hell. But the whole book, when I was reading it and all the matches he was saying, I was there. I was there when this happened. I was there when that happened and all that. And Ole was a character too, because I called him, you know. Jesus Christ, who the hell are you, kid? You know. Well, I'm Mike Miller. Can you do a job? Yeah. Well, hell, be here in 2 weeks. So that was it, you know. There was no, you know, affection or nothing. You know, it was just down to business, down to work, and, you know. In fact, in Charlotte, they ran 3 shows a night. We had so many people, and they were doing so well.
That's incredible.
Until Ric Flair.
Same venue?
Ric Flair won the belt. When he won the belt, our houses went boom. You know. So he was that's when he first won the heavyweight title from Harley Race. You know.
In the same venue?
Oh yeah. We would run 3 towns. We would run three towns 4 times a week. You know. Yeah. So we had the A team, the B team, C team. One of the towns though, you had a single match, and then everybody came back for a tag match. That's how we did it. So, you know, But then you had the big towns where you had maybe 5 matches and you didn't have to work but once. But you were with the big dogs there. You was with, Junkyard Dog was there, Ernie Ladd, uh, you know, Michael Hayes and Terry Gordy, you know, just, there's so many guys that I can't even think now. I mean, we're going back a while. It was it was actually an experience for me because I didn't know a lot of the guys. Nikolai Volkov was there. Oh gosh, there are so many guys that was started right there in that area, and I made trips with the Sheik. We had the Sheik there. We had.
Are you talking about Eddie
talking-
Farhat, or are you talking about?
The Sheik that went to New York.
Okay.
He talked like this, He had the long mustache, and he had the, he's from Iran. He had the Iranian flag. He used to wrestle with Nikolai.
Volkov,
Yeah, Volkov would sing the Russian national anthem, in the ring, and then the Sheik would be over there waving his Iranian flag. God, that would go over like crazy now, wouldn't it? I mean, my God, it would be great. But I mean, that was then. I mean, and you could do anything.
Iron
Sergeant.
Sheik and Dutch had a heated feud here.
Oh, imagine the Iron Sheik and Sergeant Slaughter.
Yeah.
That's your heat there. America against Iran. So I mean, a lot of ways, professional were political. We ran political sides to it. So, but I mean, that's the way the business is. Or was. And it's still good now. I mean, the wrestling is really good. The guys do fantastic now, but I'm just saying it was so much fun. I mean, to me, I can think back now, if I want to put a grin on my face, I think about some of the trips I made with, maybe with Andre the Giant laying in my back seat snoring. We there, boss? No, Andre, we're not there, boss. He'd crash out just as soon as he climbed. And they would choose one of the bottom guys to give him a ride because he would break the springs in the other guy's cars. And so guess who they picked? Hey, Miller, you want to take Andre to the tent? Because they know I'm a mark for Andre. Sure. I mean, my God, he's going to kill my car. Big guy like that. So, I don't know. We had fun. I used to make a lot of trips with Handsome Jimmy Valiant, Johnny Valiant. Oh, my God.
What's the best rib you ever saw?
God, I can make a list. I can make a list. But I'll tell you one that happened here. Kurt Hennig was involved. David Sierra, the assassin, me and Rib. Anyway, we all had to get up early one morning, and we had to haul butt to Yakima. Interviews that morning for our show that night. Well, why didn't they tell us the next day? They didn't know, so we had to haul ass up there. So we had to get everybody going up there. We went up there. We did the interviews that day. Then we went over and had lunch, and then we did our show that night. On the way back, we get back home. So everybody's getting out of the car. So the assassin had his car there. Well, assassin and Kurt Hennig, they all get out. Well, Kurt puts the assassin bag. He's, I got your bag, brother. Okay. He puts it down on the ground, but the handle accidentally goes over the trailer hitch. So everybody gets in the car. Assassin passes us, hauling ass. His shit is flying everywhere. And we're trying to stop him, Say, look, he's got his, So we finally pull him over. He wasn't too happy about it, but we all know what happened, But anyway, that was a pretty good rib. I can't remember. I mean, there were so many ribs that I was probably witness to that, I wouldn't want to probably reveal. But that was just one I thought was kind of seeing
I
the-
think a book on wrestling ribs is right.
it would be great.
Timing.
It would
I
be
mean,
great.
it's just-
Yeah, it would. It would. It would be great. It would be like. I remember one time in Charlotte, North Carolina, Roddy Piper came in. He had his pipes, and Charlotte at that time, you didn't want to mess around because they would. That was when they were going around. If you pass out at the party, they shave your eyebrow off. Just one, just shave it right off. Get up the next morning, wash your face, look in the mirror, and you hear the guy, ah, because his eyebrow's gone, or something like it. I woke up one morning, all my toenails were painted pink. So I mean, that's harmless. That's harmless, ribs, But I remember one time they stuffed paper and stuff down in Piper's. Those pipes unscrew. Well, they stuffed toilet paper all down. So he was supposed to go on TV and play. He's just breaking into the business in Charlotte. They're going to play his pipes. So he's out there, blows and goes, and he's not doing nothing. Not doing that. So he continues to talk. When he gets off the interview, he goes back there and looks. Paper was stuffed all in his holes where he couldn't play nothing. So they would do stuff like that, nothing really hard. Nothing really, we used to hang out. We used to hang out in these schools where they had where they had locks on the locks. Well, you would come in from your match, and I used to wear Tony Lama's boots. Well, I had a lock on every little thing where you pull up your boot. There was a lock on it. I had a lock on every deal around my belt. I had a lock on my jacket. Had locks all over. That was rib. Just something that they thought it was funny.
So tell me how you left Tennessee and where'd you go after that? Tommy's gonna make me wrap up in 5 minutes. I knew this was gonna happen.
Oh yeah, I know. It could go on forever.
No, we
well,
didn't even
I broke in.
We haven't even got to one question we wrote down.
I'm telling you, we can do it again.
That's great.
We can. I broke in the business in Tennessee. I went down to Memphis. My very first match was with the Freebirds, Michael Hayes, Terry Gordy, Buddy Roberts, and it was against Sonny King, Coco Beware, and Jerry Lawler, and Morton, Ken Morton, and they just beat the crap out of me. So. But I got to walk out with the Freebird song, and I'm walking out with these guys. I've never been in the ring, a professional ring, actually in a show. This was my first professional match in Memphis, and it was a sold out crowd, and I'm walking out, and I'm just going, wow, this is, I didn't know how to act, I'm sure I was still a hick, and I didn't know how to walk, I didn't know how to look, I didn't know how to, but it was exciting for me, I still remember it, and I still remember the finish, and I still remember all that. But it was it's something I guarantee you that if you ask any of the old wrestlers, they could probably tell you some of their first matches they ever had, and how nervous and how scary it was. But once you get out there, and I'm going to tell you, you can get out there, but you can go and go and go and go. It took me 5 years to finally, one night, I come in, I sit down in a chair, and I said, that's probably one of my best matches I ever. That's after 5 years that I didn't make a mistake, I didn't miss a spot, I was there, I was, and it was satisfying to me, and right then I knew, after 5 years I was going to get out, but now I know what I'm doing. Why am I going to get out? Why can't I go out here and give 10, 15 minutes of my time and get a good payoff? And at that time, the bottom guys were getting $100, $200 payoff for 8, 9 minute matches. Hell, I had to drive a truck 12 hours a day, 5 days a week to get $250. And here I was doing an 8-minute match, and I looked on my check. $200. Wow, I felt Superman. I felt good. But anyway, it's a long road. It's a really, really long ass road, and I want to. I know that I don't have too many more years, but I would love to just see what I know, if I can help somebody young get out there and I want to say deliver a good match.
You're going to regret saying that. Sir.
You know what I'm saying? So that's what I want to see. I want to see it happen. I want to see a good match happen. I want to see, because it's so hard for people. And I know the guys that I'm looking at now, or the guys that I'm talking with, they would just be tickled to go out there and have a 15-minute match, and it only feels like you've only gone 5 minutes, and you haven't missed a spot. Everything went good, the finish went off good, and you can go back there and get dressed and go out and say, wow, you feel great. But I know I've had those days where you go out and you say, damn, maybe I'll do better tomorrow, or maybe I'll do better the next. And some days it's day after day after day. You still have shitty matches. You still have bad matches, to follow you until one day. It's like walking. Eventually, bam, you can get on it, you can ride, and it's good. And it happens. It will happen, but you got to, it's up here. So
There was a lot of guys I wanted to ask you about. And I know you say we're going to get together again, but just in case we don't, just briefly, because he's one of the nicest people I ever met. But any stories you can say or anything you want to say about Brian Adams?
Yeah, Brian was Brian Adams was, I'll say it, one of my best friends. He come in here, like I told you before, when he first came into Portland, I thought he was here to take my place because he had the long black hair, he had the deal, just like me, and I'm thinking, well, let me see here. So if he's gonna take my place, I'm gonna be real good friends with him to see. So I went over to his place that night, and we sat down together, and we started talking. Now he was raised in Hawaii. So white boys in Hawaii have a pretty hard time. They're haoles. So he said he had to fight a lot through his school and all that. But he got into the business now, and he wanted to learn. He wanted to learn a lot. He was still learning when he come in here. But he was such a class gentleman. He everything about him was classy. And he would have made it really, he would have made it to the top. Or he did make it to the top, But he was just a pleasure to have around. He was a pleasure to have around my family, and him and his wife Irene, and all that. They were just real good friends of ours. Anytime we went out, in fact, I would kind of try to pattern myself after him because when I would go out, I'd cut loose, But he would like 1 or 2 drinks and leave it, Well, he would tell me, he said, "Don't you think you had too many?" I said, "I guess you're right, Because, you have too many, you mess up the party, We have enough just to have a real good time, and we did it, And there's a lot of stories on Brian, I can tell you, that he was just a great guy, and I miss him to this day. I missed him. When I heard it, I couldn't believe it, and I still can't believe it. And when I heard about a lot of my friends, Art Barr was one of them. That 18 years old, he'd want to go to the bars with me after the matches was all over, and I'm getting dressed, and I'm combing my hair, I'm putting all the good stuff on, looking good, baby, here we go. He's going, "Can I go out with you, Mike?" I said, "You're only 18. He said, "If I'm with you, they won't ask me." I said, "Well, come on." So I would take him to the clubs, and he would just, he would stick by me. He was right there. He was a good guy, he was, and he learned quick. Art was, he learned quick. He learned how to do all the flying stuff and all that, And then, there's so many friends of mine that are gone, you said Brian Adams, and then there's Art Barr, and then there's, Scott Peterson, Brady Boone, Sandy Barr. It just hurts me when I can't come to Portland and sit over and talk with Sandy as he's lighting another cigarette from another cigarette and talking to me, But he had a lot of sense. He had a lot about the business. He loved it. Sandy loved it. If he hadn't loved it, he wouldn't have done it. I mean, look at all the work he had to do and not draw a whole lot of people,
No, Sandy contributed a hell of a lot.
Sandy did. He had a lot. He had a lot
Sandy
going.
Allotted.
So
I watched him train his son after the Portland wrestling shows.
Yeah.
After the building and everybody would leave.
Yeah.
He would train Art when Art was like 16, 17.
Right.
And you could just kind of tell.
But he was hard on him, wasn't he?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And his other
Sandy was
son,
hard
in fact, he was so hard, His other son didn't really cut the mustard.
But see, Sandy would break down on you. He'd make you scream.
Yeah.
You know, but you would know that's how you could make somebody scream. You know, you could put a pressure point on them, and you wouldn't think Sandy could do it. Sandy would come up to me, and I'd start backing up. I'd say, "Get away! Don't touch me! Get away!" Because I know if he got you, you know, he's like, "Hey, what about this?" And you'd be going, "Oh, Sandy, what the hell?" You know, and you know that's just the way he is.
Dutch Savage put me to sleep in like 40 seconds.
See,
a
yeah,
month ago.
it's just old school.
Knowledge.
Yeah, you know, and you know, you wouldn't believe the between the guys in the dressing room back then was just, I mean, you know, we all kind of did the same thing. We all kind of watched each other's back, and you know, it was close. It was close. It wasn't. You know, I could always count on if I needed someone, pick up the phone and call them, you know, or something, you know. So, I mean, it was, and you just, at one time we had a crew here. We had Tio, Tapu, me and Rip, Assassin, Kurt Henning, I think it was Brady Boone at the time. Oh gosh, I can't remember how many, but we were all so good that we could get in there and you know, if we were going to have a match, we could have a match without any problem. I mean, we knew where we were going to be at that time, you know, and the matches went off great. They went off great. We never had a bad match. We never had, you know, we all would get into our room, talk about the match. How did it go? What could we do to improve it and stuff like that? But you had so many people that had so much experience. We were all making tours to Japan. We were all just, you know, we were wrestling every day. We had from Sunday to Sunday. We wrestled every day. We never, you know, we seen each other more than we did our family. You know, so and that's not good, but it was how we made our money. We chose it, and that's what we did. So you had to be good, you know, to make you feel successful. That I'm going to continue to do this. You know, you don't want to be bad. So, but anyway, it's a lot of stories. I could stand up here and talk all day.
What were some of the biggest locker room feuds you ever seen between?
Actually feuds. I seen Billy Jack jump the Russian. What was the Russian guy? He come in here and wrestle, and they got into it about something. I can't remember.
The Russian here?
The Russian. What was his name? Smirnov. Remember Smirnov? Yeah. Remember we did the show in Boise, and he went around and did all the fire alarms, and all the you know, cops come up, which had kicked us out of the building for the next time we go up. But Smirnov did it, you know. That was a feud. You know, I don't think I was ever in a bad feud with anybody. And if there was ever a feud at all, Buddy Rose and Matt Bourne with the
With Tony Ray?
That was a feud.
With the sister.
You're shaking your head. You remember that one? Yeah. So I mean, you know, though they were friends, but see, you know, Buddy married Matt's sister. So they had a little bit of problem, and Matt goes over there, kicks Buddy's door in. Next thing you know, they're in there having coffee and talking. But you know how Buddy was. He talked his way out of it. Oh, Matt, come here. Let's have the coffee. Come on, sit down here. I got to, you know, let me show you some tapes. I can hear Buddy now, you know, just going to, but that was a feud. That was a real feud. I mean, you know, Buddy would have to wrestle Matt in the ring, and Buddy would go, oh, I don't want to do it, Don. I can't get in his, you goddamn Jesus Christ, kid, you got to get out there and do it, you know. Well, he was nervous that Buddy might, you know, that Matt might, you know, turn on him. But Buddy was funny about that. Oh, he would just, but that was one of the old time feuds. The only feud I ever had was, God, I can't remember. I don't, you know. If I ever had a problem with somebody, I went right straight to them. I guess I didn't have any sense. You know, I would just walk right up to them and say, look, you got a problem with me? Or is there a problem? Or what's going on? And normally if you face somebody, they'll talk to you. You know, But if you're sitting way over there and I'm sitting way over here and we're staring, you know, oh, that just burns my ass up. I'll walk right over and scoot right up against them. I say, now, do you know me? Do we have a problem? If we do, let's get it on the table right now. You know, let's get it done. Because I don't like to have something, you know, work on me. And I don't think I've ever had a serious problem with anybody, you know. If I had, they never told. I heard one time Billy Jack Haynes was hunting me down for something, I don't know, so I went all over Portland, left my address at every bar I knew he was going to be at, and I said, look, I'm not a hard person to find. I said, here I am. And the next time I saw him, he was hugging me and telling me how much he respected me and all this, and I said, oh, well, I thought you was after to kick my butt, and I was going to oblige you, you know. So, but I've never had a problem with anybody. The only way to deal with a problem is to go right to it, you know, because you let it stew and stew and stew, you know, especially in this business here, and you got to go out there, and I got to go out there and work with you, and you said something to me behind my back or something, and I know it, and you won't tell me. Let me get you out here in this ring, you know.
Been there, done that.
See what I'm saying? So you don't want to do that, you know. You know, you want to keep everything quiet, and you know, you can work off all your problems out there without getting hurt. You know, one tackle, drop down, hip toss me, arm drag out, you know, boom. Oh, I can go. I can go to, you know, but we just, you know, far as any kind of real stuff, there was never, because we did a lot of drinking back in them days. We used to leave the arena and hit Acropolis, hit the Refectory, hit, you know, or first we go to the Bomber, watch the tape on Saturday night, and then get up and go hit the clubs. It was hot, man. Hey, the Bomber was hot. You know, where you stayed, everybody was there.
Yeah.
You know, even the heels, the baby faces, all was there, was all partying, you know. And now we didn't, hey, that is a total lie if anybody says they saw the heels and babyface party, that we never did. Now, we might sneak out the back, and after all the girls are gone, we you know, but if the girls was there, no, we, you know, if a babyface knocked on our door, we kicked them out, you know.
Yeah.
So, but I'm just saying, it was just a brotherhood. I never had any other friends besides the wrestlers. I mean, I had friends outside the business, but, you know, it was mainly the wrestlers, you know, so. There's not too many of us left.
No, there's not.
You know, I got an address book at home. I've got lines through names. The guys are gone. You know, they're not here. Buddy Rose. You know, when I used to come into town, I'd go see Sandy. He's gone. You know, Don Owens, Elton Owens. Everybody's gone. Everybody's gone mainly that was connected to Portland wrestling at that time. You know, and it's a shame.
So when you wrestled here the last time, was that your last gig?
No, my last gig was in Hawaii. Brian Adams run a show in Hawaii. I went over there and Hawk, you know, Hawk and Animal. Well, Hawk was there. Oh God, I got the lineup at home. I can't remember who all was there, but we wrestled in Kona that Saturday night. I stayed there a whole week. Nice room, went diving, did all the good stuff, you know, because I said this will be my last, you know, as the bucket list, that movie, I said, this is it, so I'm going, you know. And I don't swim, and I went snorkeling. I mean, you know, it scared the hell out of me, but I loved it, you know. I went and did it, you know, and I was with the guys, you know. And I wrestled, oh my God. All of a sudden it just left me. I can't remember.
Do you remember what year that was?
75, I think. No, not 75, 95.